4, 3, 2.
And welcome everyone to Real Leaders for the Global Goals. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Alongside me today, we have Raj Thakkar, a founder and CEO of Charter School Business Management. Raj, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Charter schools. Why charter schools, and how did you get involved?
So after getting my MBA from NYU, I wanted to make some sort of impact. So instead of going the traditional route and going to some big corporation, I started looking into nonprofits. And one nonprofit in particular, Explore Charter School, was hunting me down and saying, hey, we love your resume. Please become our chief financial officer because we really need help with managing our finances.
Wow, okay, so you have a background in finance. And what did you find or experience throughout those years working for this program?
Sure, so most charter schools are opened by very passionate educators who want to either educate students in a very particular way while still addressing all the state and federal requirements, and or they want to help a specific population of students. So by training, they're passionate about academics, education, but they're not finance people, they're not accounting people. So the school founder that I was helping was forced to open with a school larger than he had anticipated, and he wanted to make sure his number one stress was, I don't want financial mismanagement to be the reason why my school is shut down. So I said, oh, I've helped save a company from bankruptcy in the past. This is what I do. So I had to help with the accounting, the payroll, the budgeting, the financial reporting, the forecasting, preparing for their annual audit, all these different things. And in the process, I kept meeting all these other potential school founders that wanted to launch their own charter schools, and then they started encouraging me to go out on my own.
Interesting. So it's obviously very difficult to run a business. Sure, it's extremely difficult to run a charter school. So this service has been able to take the stress off of a lot of small charter schools to take care of their employees and their payroll systems and things like that.
That's right.
But why are charter schools important in terms of the impact in those cities?
Sure. So right now, before charter schools existed, the first one was launched in 1992 in Minnesota. You essentially had a monopoly amongst the public school industry, and charter schools are public schools. And it was, this is your one option. You're zoned to go to this traditional public school, and you have no choice. Now, what happens is, in the U.S., because everything is based on tax-related dollars coming from real estate, if you live in a well-to-do neighborhood, you tend to have a really good traditional public school that your child is zoned to go to. And if not, then you tend to have a not-so-good charter school, traditional public school to go to. However, when a charter school is open, they tend to open in impoverished neighborhoods, mostly, most often children of color and children who qualify for free and reduced price meals. And charter schools are giving an option to parents who cannot buy themselves into a better zip code, into a better neighborhood, which has a better school. So now they can say, listen, I'll go to my traditionally zoned public school, or I'll go to my charter public school, but I can choose. And the other difference is the concept in the charter industry is accountability in exchange for autonomy in exchange for accountability. So if a charter school does well, they stay open, and their charter, which means contract, continues for an additional 5 years. And if not, you get shut down. Unlike in a traditional public school, they can be graduating 10% of their students and failing 90% of their students, and there's no repercussions for lack of performance or kids dropping out and things like that.
I'm just curious, how do charter schools get funded, and what's the main difference between, are there some regulations that charter schools don't have to follow versus a public school?
So they have to follow all the regulations. They have to follow all the state standards. So it's charter law is a state level law. It is supported at the federal level, and there are dollars made available at the federal level to when you initially launch a charter school, and for Title I ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, money that helps students that are both behind grade level and qualify for free and reduced price meals. At the state level, it varies state to state. So in some cases, it's based on enrollment of kids who, if you were here on the, enrolled the first and last day, then you get the full dollar amount that charter schools are given. And if you are there for half of the year, then you get half of the dollar amount, so the money follows the child. Sometimes it's based on who was in attendance on a very particular day, so every state has figured it out themselves. However, on the most part, charter school students will get 70 to 75% of what traditional public school students get because of politics, because of all sorts of, it's just what it is. But they have to do more with the accountability that they're involved with, and it takes all these superhuman efforts to achieve at the levels that charter schools are.
So a company like yours comes in and, I'll say it again, you're taking the stress off of that school to make sure that all the employees are getting paid. You're doing the audits to make sure everything is correct, so there's a lesser chance of getting its charter revoked.
Correct.
Okay.
So the number one reason why charter schools shut down, as well as nonprofits in general, is financial mismanagement.
Okay.
So we come in there and we basically, when a school founder tells us their vision and say, listen, we're going to open with 100 kids and then we're going to go to 200 students, 300, 400, 500, then we'll come up with a budget that will be sustainable for that 5-year period. And then if their charter is approved, then we'll help them set up their accounting system, set up their payroll system, make sure their teachers get paid, make sure that all of their all the regulations are in compliance with using the money in the right way, because anytime you get grant funding, there's always strings attached that you have to comply with. And then we'll monitor their budget every single month to see where they are budget versus actuals. And then on top of that, we forecast from the point that we closed the books to the end of the fiscal year and show them what type of surplus or deficit they're headed towards. And by doing that, then they'll know whether they're fiscally solvent, whether they'll have enough cash, whether they'll be okay on an accrual basis, because there's boards of trustees that are governing each charter school, and they need the reassurance that they're running a financially sustainable model.
You were mentioning kids that might grow up in a nice area, they have a good public school, at least a good opportunity to go to a public school.
Correct.
That was me growing up. I went to a nice public school growing up.
Me too.
But I do remember taking those state tests. And if we tested good, our school would receive more funding. And I just thought about that. I said, I don't know if that's right. What about the schools that aren't testing as well? Why would they not receive as much money? Do you have a stance or maybe just an opinion on how the state is allocating funds towards public schools?
This is so hard, because
it's really complex.
It is really complex. There's not a level of transparency that I believe should exist. I don't see the difference between a traditional public school and a charter public school, why they don't get the same amount of dollars, why there isn't accountability for both charter schools and traditional public schools. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So there's a lot that needs to be fixed, but unfortunately, in the U.S., there's this whole system of haves and have-nots, and any country outside of the U.S. that's really made it in the world, they've invested in education. They've really said, look, these future citizens are going to be the next, Steve Jobs or whatever, Jeff Bezos, or, let's invest in education. Let's not invest in incarceration. Let's not invest in all these other awful things. Let's invest in education. But for some reason, the politics are such that power is in the dollars. And Jeffrey Canada, who founded Harlem Children's Zone, always says, if you want to see what a country values, open up their checkbook and you see what they value. And that shows how you spend your money. So we value
Yes.
lots of different things, and I have a differing opinion of what we should be valuing.
Definitely. I'll change it up a little bit.
Sure.
Is Charter School Business Management a certified B corporation?
Yes.
And,
yes.
and why did you set it up that way?
Yeah, so we didn't actually even set it up that way. It was always our ethos of being of being great to our employees, being great to our clients, having impact in our communities, volunteering, and it was when I was networking, I was describing my company to a colleague, and he said, "Oh, you're a B Corp," and I'm like, "A B what? What are you talking about?" And it was just always how we operated. So later we became a certified B Corp. After I looked into it, I'm like, oh wow, we do all these things, and then this year we actually converted from an S corporation to a benefit corporation, and are waiting for that official word to come back. But I expect that to be coming through too. So it's wonderful to be surrounded by a community of over 3,000 certified B Corps. Like every company in the world should be a B Corp, because it's people. The planet, it's all these amazing things that have to happen, and you saw at the UN with Greta, speaking up this week, saying, "I'm afraid for my future. This world has to change." Every company should be focused on these things, and I'm seeing that there's a change happening, and I'm excited by it.
And for folks just listening to this right now, companies can go on and do a B impact assessment. Is that correct? That's kind of how it is. And
right.
You can become this certified B corporation. You focus on maximizing stakeholder value.
That's right.
You're measuring your impact. How does Charter School Business Management measure your impact?
So for us, it's a little bit tricky because
Sure.
we don't feel comfortable claiming or taking credit, or whatever the right way to say it is, for the academic impact that's happening at the schools. But in our view, logic tells us that if an educator who founded the school can stay focused on academics, which is what they were educated to do and have experience in doing, and let accounting and finance folks like us do what we do best, then everybody's happy. So we track the number of cities that we're in. We track the number of employees that we impact, and the number of students that we impact, but claiming academic achievement is hard for us. But by them staying on task, so we feel a little bit conflicted about it.
So do you measure like just schools are able to be sustainable?
That's right. So we're excited that not a single school that works with us has ever been shut down because of financial mismanagement. So that's very exciting for us.
Okay, great. And so how many schools are you in right now, and what's the vision going forward in the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
So we're helping about 150 organizations currently. We've got two different brands. We've got Charter School Business Management, which helps about 100 charter schools, and then Foresight Financial Services for Good is a second brand that helps other types of nonprofits. There's about 50 nonprofits that we're helping, some independent private schools. We help other education nonprofits. We help some nonprofits that help formerly incarcerated individuals. There's all different nonprofits that we support. So our vision for the future is to. I'm working on a book that will demonstrate, one for charter schools specifically, one for nonprofits specifically, how to manage their finances responsibly, and a 10-step process that we have that's like, I call myself the paranoid New Yorker that has the most robust way to look at your organization's finances. So the books are a part of the vision. We just want to keep adding more teammates that are helping our achieve our mission. So right now we're at 60 employees. We'd love to be at 600 employees someday. We're at 150 clients. We'd love to be helping 500. We'd love to help 1,000. What we're also seeing is we're doing geographic expansion throughout the U.S., but being smart about it. The bulk of our schools are in New York, but now we're serving schools in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Florida, in Texas, in Las Vegas. The need is everywhere, but we just want to make sure that we're smart about it. And now ultimately, the charter concept is starting to spread around not only in the U.S., but also around the world. So if there's the opportunity to help schools internationally make sure that finances are managed responsibly, then that's also part of the vision.
Raj, 13 years ago, someone came to you and said, I need to take care of my financials or else the school's not going to run. Now you have 60 employees, 150 schools. It takes a lot of leadership. What would you say your definition of a real leader is?
So above and beyond, at the top of the list is just always doing the right thing. So our company's core values are karma, which stands for kindness, accomplishment, respect, motivation, and appreciation. And that is what we do with our employees, with our clients, with the communities that we serve. So always doing the right thing has been a theme throughout. It's probably obvious, but fiscally responsible is just so huge for us. Like you have to be a fiscally responsible leader, because we see the amount of fraud that goes on all over the world. There's just sometimes it's just incompetence, and it irks me how by design it feels like even in the schools that serve our students, there's such little financial education that goes on. So even though that drives the economy by people being not financially savvy, it's bad for individuals. So if people are protecting their money and they're investing it, it'll still be used in better ways, but instead of it going to, interest in credit card companies or bank loans and all these different, ways, they can spend their money in more responsible ways. So I definitely fiscally responsible, and then really good to their employees, because employees, and we say teammates all the time. So the teammates are the ones who are getting this done, right? And they're out there every day solving all sorts of challenges. So I consider each of our teammates leaders, because there's so many decisions that have to be made in all the different clients that we have. So it's just fostering leadership in everyone throughout the organization, not just saying, "Oh, I'm the one leader, and therefore, it's
right."
The job of the leader is to create more leaders, and ideally, everybody's a leader in a company.
Well, Raj, appreciate your time here, coming on the show for Real Leaders for the Global Goals. For everyone listening out there, for Raj Thakkar, I'm Kevin Edwards, telling you always to go out there, empower other leaders, and always keep it real. Yes, Raj.
Thank you so much.